guys, my name is Shaquille, and for today's podcast, we'll be talking about the topic of progress and waiting. In our 20s, we're very accustomed to chasing progress every second we can. There's this urge and feeling of necessity we have to succeed, to change our life, but it's also a time of uncertainty and waiting for things to happen. We may be finishing up our education, starting our careers, or figuring out what we want to do with our life. Everyone's going completely different roads, and everyone's pursuing different goals, and when they're doing that, it's kind of hard to compare yourself and determine how well you're doing with your life. Additionally, this societal pressures and expectation makes it really hard to feel like we're making progress at all. We need to be patient and have the ability to wait it out and let things fall into the places that they're meant to be, rather than us just forcing it to be. So how is it that we can navigate the waiting game and make the most of our 20s? So I think the first thing that we have to do is set realistic expectations. Understand that progress is going to take our time, and not everything is going to happen overnight. It's really hard to track your progress when you're comparing yourself to others, because the thing about your progress is your goals are all very personalized to you. Your desires are all unique to you. So the benchmarks to your progress is also unique to you. Me personally, I succeeded financially early and also failed early on. I finished college when I was 20. People think I have my life together and I'm progressing beautifully, but I feel like I have nothing figured out currently. When you're trying to break into a new field, a new career, or new hobby, it feels really daunting because we feel so behind compared to the people that have spent 5 years progressing in that field. But that really shouldn't make us feel inadequate, because relative to ourselves, relative to even them in this case, we're not really behind. During their first year, they weren't that amazing either. It's just they've worked 5 years harder than you, and so you have 5 years worth of time to catch up on this hobby. And you don't have to rush it, because you can't rush time. You can't, unless you can time travel, but I don't think I know anyone that can do that. So don't feel inadequate and just look at it relative to yourself and see the amount of progress that you can make personally. And especially for things like jobs, it's a lot about just waiting and just giving it time when you're breaking in, rather than feeling inadequate because someone else has it figured out. Someone else has the job that you want because you don't have that internship. People are also really scared of losing their progress that they've made so far in life. It's okay to experiment and try new things. It's okay to leave finance and go to tech, or leave tech. It sounds pretty crazy when I say it like that, but you should really figure it out right now, because if you're scared of wasting 5 years of progress that you've made, you're risking 10 years of potential growth. It's really important to understand that progress takes time and not everything happens overnight. I am ahead in terms of other people's eyes, in terms of experiences, but at the same time, why is it that I feel so pessimistic and so behind? And that's just simply because I just keep comparing myself to others, and that's a problem. I know I'm stating that progress is all very relative to you, but that's just conclusions I've come to. But even when you've come to these conclusions, there's also emotional aspect of it that we don't tend to think about. Yeah, we understand the rationality behind it, but emotionally we may not have been developed enough to even fully. If I just compare myself relatively to other people, I'm pretty ahead, I graduated early. I'm only 21. I have my whole life ahead of me. But at the same time, I feel so behind. And that's just because I'm having a pessimistic outlook on the goals that I'm trying to succeed for. And because I have to wait for a lot of these goals, that also adds on to the pessimistic outlook. One thing about progress is that it's always important to chase improvement, but also to realize the accomplishments that you've made along the way. Lots of times, while we're just trying to grow, while we're trying to improve, we just reach a goal and we're like, check mark. Or at least I do. I'm just like, check mark. And I don't take the time to be grateful or even celebrate it. I'm not even happy about it. It's just oh, I finally got it done. I should be taking the time to be grateful for those accomplishments, because that is showing that I am progressing, and it's insinuating to me that whatever I am doing is working. Keep seeing that, oh, we need to improve in this way and we need to improve in that other way, and we don't notice the way that we've grown. Then we're just only at a point of view where we're just lacking and we're not seeing any of the progress we're making, because for us, we've just been making these growths and we're just trying to make these growth. And eventually you're just going to get burnt out. You're not going to really succeed like that, because people end up giving up in these kind of situations. People just see waiting as this negative thing where it's them wasting their time, but you really shouldn't just look at it so pessimistically. There's a very optimistic viewpoint towards it that you can have. When you're waiting and trying to figure things out, might as well just use that to try out new hobbies and passions. We have time. We have a lot of time. That's our biggest asset. In one of my favorite books, No Limit Person, the author Wayne Dyer explains how people know that people commuting to a job know there's a traffic every morning, But even so, they choose to get in traffic every day and they're like, damn it, I knew this traffic was going to be there, and complain about it, when they can just simply take that time where they're waiting to dedicate towards listening to a podcast or doing anything else. He says sometimes he goes out and greets people in other cars and just has conversations with them. It really shows how important it is to have like a positive outlook when it comes to waiting and stuff. These gaps of time where you're uncertain, you should just use it to chase other desires you have, because in our 20s we're just filled with a bunch of desires and ideas that we want to try out, but we just never end up trying out. Waiting is also a really important aspect when it comes to just making progress in general, because without waiting you can't make progress significantly. One of the main things that you have to do to survive in trading is to make sure that you don't overtrade. You don't ever try to really force a trade, or at least based on my mentality, rather want to wait for the trade to come to you. When a setup you believe has a strong statistical chance of succeeding, like you see great volume, that's when you trade. You don't try to trade when favors against you, but rather when favors towards you. Until then, you just wait. Sometimes it can be a week, sometimes it can be a month, sometimes it can be just an hour, but you're just going to simply get chopped up and lose a bunch of your money when you just keep forcing trades after trades after trade. Sometimes most opportunities exist in the 5% of the event, while the other 95% just simply exist just for that sole moment to happen. If you hone your skill and just pay attention during the important times, waiting presents you with the best opportunities. And this opportunity can expedite your progress. If you take every opportunity to trade, if you just trade every single second, you're just going to get burnt out and you're going to get into bad trades that aren't in your favor. The best progress you're going to make is when you trade at the best times. It also might not seem to be completely related, but just adding on to that, I think it's really important to understand the idea of working hard versus working smart. Working hard is just putting in a lot of effort and time, while working smart is putting in a lot of effort and time at the right places. Working smart allows us to achieve progress in a sustainable and efficient. I've seen the difference between working hard and working smart, and it might seem minor at first, but it's very exponential. Working hard can give you financial freedom, and maybe by age of 40, but like working smart can give you financial freedom by the age of like 25, you know? And to work smart, I think one of the most important things to do is, as I mentioned earlier in trading, is to be able to utilize your waiting periods properly. You can't just look at the times of opportunities, but rather you also have to look at the times where you need to wait, where you need to be defensive. You can't just look at the times where you're supposed to be progressing. You can't always be on the offense. You also have to be on the defense when it comes to this. You have to be able to wait while also looking for opportunities. It's a mix of both. You need to be balanced. One last piece of advice I want to share with everyone is either enjoy working hard towards the future or simply just enjoy doing nothing and having fun. Don't dwell on the small moments of being unproductive. Give yourself either one of these two options and you'll find joy. You should be okay with having fun. Like, you want to be able to create a lot of these memories.